Hey ladies, it's Trina back again. So this is part 2, and I left off with set a schedule. Create a schedule. Like I said in the last one, you cannot think that you're gonna sit up here and wing this whole thing and take calls and log in whenever you want to and just be all sporadic and all over the place and unorganized. No, because when you do that, you're not going to be able to keep track of your money, and you're not going to be able to keep track on which days work for you, which hours work for you, what schedule works for you. You're just gonna be all over the place. You're not gonna be able to keep track of your money and how much you're making, because you don't even know how much you're working and when you're working and how you. It's just set a schedule. Okay, be organized and set a schedule. Now, me personally, I find that the mornings work for me. Some girls find that the afternoons work for them, and then there's others who find that nighttime works better for them, and then there's the girls who work in the wee hours of the morning, like 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. I've tried to do that one a few times. I just always get so tired. So I just stick with what works for me, which is the 8 a.m., 9 a.m. Sometimes I start at 8 a.m. And if I really want to feel productive and feel like I'm doing something, I might start at 7 a.m. on some days. But on average, I normally log in at like 9 a.m. Like, I do the 9 to 5. I know. I'm an entrepreneur with a 9 to 5 schedule. Like, what? But that's how it is. Like, just because you're an entrepreneur don't mean that you work in whenever. Like, you still have a schedule, but there's no one that is setting the schedule for you. You're setting the schedule for yourself. And there's also no one that can tell you, hey, where you at? Get up out of bed. What time you gonna be here? You're late. No. If you're late, then you do late. That's on you. You missing out on your money. You missing out on your regulars that normally see you at 9 a.m. and your ass come log on at 11 a.m. You probably missed out on 2 or 3 phone calls by then. And you ain't hurting nobody but yourself, because you ain't on nobody's clock. You on your own clock, which is the phone. And if that phone ain't ringing, them pockets ain't pinging. So, yeah. Okay? So yeah, be organized. I'm gonna try to do like a 6 a.m. shift one of these days, maybe a 5 a.m. shift one of these days, and see how I like it. Because I do remember some days where I would be on at like 4 or 5 a.m. and I used to get like a bunch of calls. And I'm gonna try, but I just be so tired around that time. So that's why I stopped doing it. But I'm gonna try it again a few times a week. I'm gonna see how it go. But yeah. Let's see. Number 2 of this video is be open-minded. You gotta be open-minded. You have to have an open mind. You can't be too judgmental. You can't be too squeamish. You can't be too weirded out. If you are, this isn't for you. You have to be willing to talk about anything that you're comfortable with, of course, but you can't be too vanilla. Okay. Number 3, if you're squeamish, this isn't for you. All right. And if you are too religious and if you're like a goody two shoes, this is not for you. This isn't for everybody. Like, I remember one time I was taking a phone call in front of my sister, my older sister, who knew that I do this. And this guy was like, he didn't really say anything out the way. He said something like, oh yeah, baby, I got my hands on my big fat dick right now thinking about you. And my sister is sitting across from me hearing that. And she was like, that dirty old bastard. But yeah, and then I looked at her. I said, "Yeah, this is not for you. I said, if you gonna sit there and laugh and call every caller a dirty old bastard, this ain't for you." It's like she just couldn't fathom. She couldn't take it. She couldn't take it. But yeah, it's not for everybody. And that brings me to number 4? I don't know. Shit. I'm gonna just Next tip: don't laugh in their face. Don't degrade them unless they are into that kind of thing. Now, if they are into that, if they love for you to laugh at them and degrade them, do it. But don't laugh and degrade them, just because you feel like they're a pervert or a creep. No, not unless they ask you to. All right. You are here to be a listening ear, someone to lean on, someone to talk to, someone to take their stress away. That is your purpose. Your purpose is to make them smile, make them happy, make them come. Sometimes they don't want to come, sometimes they just want to talk. Okay, make them feel better, make them come. That's your job. That's your purpose on whatever website you're on. Okay? They tell us things that they can't or don't want to tell anyone else. That is what you're here for, to be a listening ear, someone to lean on, a shoulder to cry on, take the stress away. Listen to the things that they can't open up about with everyone else, because everyone else will judge them. All right. The next tip is to avoid dead air. An example of dead air, for example, say if someone calls you and they're like, "Hey, baby," and you answer the phone and you're like, "Hi." And then the guy is like, "Oh, how are you?" And then you're like, "I'm good, baby, how are you?" And then the guy's like, "Oh, I'm just stroking my big fat dick." And then you're like, "Yes, daddy, I love the sound of that." And say if the guy goes quiet and it's like, see, that wasn't even 30 seconds. That wasn't even 10 seconds, but it felt like a long time for dead air. So, to avoid dead air, because some guys will be, stroking it and they're busy and they might not want to talk as much. So if a guy's like, "Hey, baby, how are you? What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm stroking my cock." And then if they go quiet, you can say something like, "Yeah, baby, I love the sound of that. I've been feeling so naughty lately. I've been so horny. My pussy is so wet. Oh my gosh." Or you can even repeat what they say just to avoid that area. Could be like, "Oh yeah, baby, you stroking that big fat cock for me? Yeah, baby." Like anything. Just say anything to avoid dead air. You gotta be creative. You have to come up with something to say. You have to improv like an actress, like a real actress improvs. You're a phone actress. You have to improv. You have to improv. So you have to avoid that dead air. Yeah. And you can even make noises to avoid dead air, like, oh, like, like moaning noises to avoid dead air. Come up with something on the fly. I might have to make a part 3, but I'm gonna say one more thing before I leave. On this part 2, I will say, don't be judgmental, and that goes into what I said earlier about being open-minded, not being too squeamish, not being too goody two-shoe, not bringing your religion in this. Because if you're too religious and you're too conservative, this may not be for you. So yeah, don't be too judgmental. And I'm gonna leave with this. I'm gonna say, sometimes we play therapists, and I'm gonna start off part 3.